like it's like that hidden gem that some of the biggest agencies use that you guys don't even know of, and the people who are running their ads. And that's who we decided to bring on today.
Yeah, we work with 9 7-figure agencies right now, scaling their appointments, filling their sales teams' calendars.
With all of these 7-figure agencies, what's the one common trait that they all have that's allowing them to get to that next level?
To just go and do it. There's never going to be a right time to prepare for something you've never experienced.
Scaling an agency to 6 or 7 figures is probably one of the easiest things that you can do. The challenge is most people looking to start or scale an agency don't understand this one concept that's behind this 3x3 postcard right now. If you want to know what's behind this post-it, I need you to keep watching because I'm convinced that by the end of this video, you're going to have everything that you're going to need to scale your agency to that next level. Make sure you guys watch till the end because there's some golden nuggets in this video. And you're probably wondering, what's this concept all about that's going to take me to 6 and 7 figures, and this is a bunch of baloney. But I can tell you, after 5 years of building multiple 6 and 7 figure agencies, this is the main thing that separates successful agency owners to unsuccessful agency owners. And it's this concept called SACA. And this is a phrase that my good friend Joel Kaplan coined, and it means set and close appointments. And it's so simple, and because it's so simple, it works. If you can focus on how to set as many appointments as you can for your agency, and then focus on closing them, because at the end of the day, all scaling an agency is focusing on how you can get the most amount of appointments, and then how can you actually close and convert them. If you can master those 2 things, then you can crack the agency code. So in this video, I invited 2 legends in the SMMA space. These are like the ninjas of the game. These are the people that no one knows, but they're behind the appointment booking juggernaut of some of the biggest agencies that you know. So if you're struggling to get appointments or you're looking to scale your appointment flow with your SMMA, you're gonna wanna watch till the end of this video because Luke and Jason are about to drop some gems. Let's go ahead and dive into the video.
Thanks for that fire intro, man. I appreciate it. Cool.
Thank you guys for showing up.
Yeah, absolutely. Super excited to share the wisdom and the goods, and, you know, happy to answer a lot of questions as well on today's call. Just here to add some value to you guys and help you get to the next level.
How do you guys really want to structure this? I mean, I know we had our meeting yesterday and talked about some of that stuff, but where do you guys really want to start? Because there's just so much we could really dive into.
Sure.
Where do we start?
There's 3 things that I think would be super good to start on. And this is because, like, after working with so many agencies on their paid ads,
Who are the agencies that you guys have worked with, by the way? Because I think
we can give you guys a background. So Atlas Digital, Patient Rhino. Don't we have a huge Jason? Start listening with me because Jared's a king. Zale Media.
Yo, you guys can't mention Zale Media on this call, man. That's not allowed.
We can. We just did.
Yeah, we work with 9 7-figure agencies right now, scaling their appointments, filling their sales teams' calendars, coaching them on how to improve retention rate, show up rate, all of those good things. Lifetime value, that's a big one. You know, if your lifetime value is too low, you're not going to be able to scale properly with paid ads. So sometimes people think they got a paid ad problem when it's really other levers in their business they need to pull, like lifetime value. If your lifetime value is under 6K, for an example, it's going to be a little more difficult to scale your paid ads.
Yeah, especially in bigger niches, like more competitive niches too.
Dude, that's actually like huge right there. And I know I'm getting a little off topic here, but like for us, the reason why we're also able to scale so fast is because we charge 6K up front. Or it's 9K, right? It's either 6K or 9K. And we charge that 6K up front, and that allows us to just fill up our calendars. And you guys know, based off our conversation yesterday, our calendars are 2-packed. We don't even have enough closers to take on the amount of appointments. So since working with all of these 7-figure agencies, what's the one common trait, and this is just for my own curiosity, that they all have that's allowing them to get to that next level?
Hey, you know, I would say the first thing that we're encountering is probably don't be afraid of growth.
Yeah.
I think that's it. None of them are afraid of growing. None of them are afraid of breaking systems. They just go and then they figure it out later. And that's the number one thing. And I think that's important, getting that mindset right, that just go and do it. Like there's never going to be a right time to prepare for something you've never experienced.
I love that.
Yeah.
And dude, you said something really key, because we have students on this call that are like, yo, I need systems, but they don't even have packed calendars yet.
Yeah, well, it's preparing for something you don't have, right? And it may never come. And if it never comes, then it's like, well, you're never going to hit the goals you wanted to hit anyway. So why are you preparing for a theoretical goal, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. You're just holding yourself back.
Yeah. And for everyone out there listening right now, for all of the students listening right now, one of the first things I did when we acquired this agency was bring on agency engineer. That was one of the first. That was the actually you. I don't even know if you guys know this. You guys were the first biggest investment we ever made.
Nice.
And I think since then you may be, we made a few other big investments where we make big investments, but only in the right areas. And you guys were definitely one of them. But you guys were like the first ones because that's how important it is, guys. That's the most important thing, getting a packed calendar. So with that being said, guys, for all the students in here, drop your questions in the chat, and then where do you guys kind of want to take the conversation?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I was going to talk about is probably data-driven decisions and KPIs.
Yeah, hell yeah.
I just think, that's the absolute biggest thing. So I would say the second thing that all our top clients share in common that we speak with is they know their KPIs very well. By the time they've spoke with us, after they've spoke with us, when they have rough ideas when they show up on their KPIs, we get on a call and we literally break them down. And not to throw Jared under the bus, but like Jared showed up and he's like, hey man, we're getting like $11 appointments and this is freaking awesome. And we want you to scale us as quick as possible. Right. And then like we get him on the call and we're like, bro, let's like dive into those numbers a bit more. Cause I know that you haven't had a chance to really dive that deep. You just had a look at that surface level data, but we dive in and we realize realistically those appointments are actually $60. So when you go and see that data, that's the most important thing, because if you get your numbers wrong at any point in this process, you're literally about to multiply all of those numbers, and those numbers are going to stack and stack and stack and stack. They're either going to stack in a positive way or a negative way. You need to be super, super clear on what those numbers are. So even some of the biggest agencies we speak with actually don't know their true numbers. And getting those true numbers, and that's literally what we do on our first call with everyone. It's like, before we even consider running paid ads, let's look at the viability of this based on the business. Otherwise, you're walking in blind. And I think one of the funniest things Jason and I have been seeing is like some of these 7-figure agencies, like, they have a killer offer and then they have a great sales team and they've been growing and growing and growing, but like their media buyers don't even have KPIs. And we're like, what? Like, you just let your media buyers show up and just spend money and that's it? Like, and that's mind blowing to me, because then they wonder like why they're not growing as quick as they could, or why like they've hit a peak or a cap, right? And there's so many reasons to all of that, but you're not going to know that without your numbers. So I think getting that clear is super important. I think the second thing is manually auditing your numbers. Like, don't just trust. You need to actually know why that number is that number. Like, what exactly made it that number? What's the exact formula? Am I missing anything in that formula? Who pulled the data? Is this tool that's collecting the data actually accurate? Like,
where are you getting the data?
We consistently audit everything when we do our data pulling. And it sucks. I would honestly train a VA to do it, because there is no way it's worth your time doing it. But it's just important. Like when Facebook says you have 70 appointments on a dashboard, and you go and look in your backend in your CRM and you trace that back to like a hard name, email, phone number, and time, and you go, shit, man, that was 51. Well, that changes your numbers entirely. Or maybe it's 90, maybe it's 20 over, and you were killing ads and you were scaling like no tomorrow and you didn't even realize it. A month down the road from now, you would have added an extra 30K in revenue, but you just killed those ads because you didn't know the real data. And it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility. Right?
And I think that was actually like the first thing that when we talked, I think that was like the biggest pain I was having, that I didn't know my numbers and I wasn't able to track anything accurately. And you guys really came in and helped me fix that. So that was huge.
Yeah, I would say that's probably one of the biggest problems that we fixed, or that we saw for agencies, especially on that level. But even if you're not on that level, it's still so important, because you're not even going to get to that level without having the proper tracking and knowing what your KPIs are. A lot of people do come like Jarrett, where they think their KPI is one thing. They at least have some idea. They have ideas of KPIs, or having those conversations, but they're actually pulling the wrong numbers. Like we've learned, or we've discovered after spending millions of dollars on ads, that the Facebook dashboard is very inaccurate. Like we've seen some accounts up to like 60% discrepancy on what the conversion or result shows on Facebook. So really, like if you're a media buyer, or if you're running ads, if you're just looking at the Facebook dashboard, like you're gambling. Like maybe a year ago you could get away with that, but once like iOS update and stuff, it's pretty much the numbers are tanked. Like if you could be looking at an ad set, it could say 0 conversions. Then you go on the back side of your CRM or looking your Calendly or whatever you're using on the back end, and you may have 3 appointments. So you're going to cut off that ad because you're like, oh, it spent $200. I have 0 conversions. And in reality, it has 3 conversions. So you're cutting off that winning ad. And then there could be another ad set that says you have 2 conversions, and maybe it has 0 or 1 or whatever the number is. So, if you're just, the data is so important. It's really a data game now. I mean, yeah, of course, like things like offer, creatives, copy, all of that stuff comes into play. But at the end of the day, like if you don't have the correct data, then you're not even going to know how your copy's performing, how your creative's performing. You're not going to be able to scale your account. You're not going to know which ads to turn off, to turn on, to put more money into. So really the first very important thing, like if anyone takes anything off of this call today, is to spend the time really figuring out your data. Like Luke said, it sucks. It's like the most boring thing to do. The most unfun part of the business is looking at data, but it's extremely important to get that right, because that's going to pretty much determine every decision you make moving forward in the ad account. Talking about data, we're completely data driven. Like we try to remove all emotions out of our media buying decision because it's all a data game at the end of the day. So that's why it's so important that you know those numbers. If you're in the ad account super emotional and making emotional decisions and making decisions based on wrong data, you're like driving somewhere that you've never been without a map. You're just going blind.
Jeremy, just asked a really good question, which is what tracking software are we using? So we can talk to you guys a bit about like tracking softwares, because ultimately, you already know your tracking is important, data is important. We want to know, how do you fix that? So it's really hard to fix. There hasn't really been, for us, any software out there that we've gone and plug and played that's just worked, unfortunately. I mean, we get asked a lot about Hyros. We're actually agency partners with Hyros, but we still don't recommend it a lot of the time to people because it doesn't necessarily fully solve the problem that you're looking to get solved. So what do? We built a custom Google Sheet system. So essentially what we do is we take a survey or a form, depending on how many steps are in your funnel, right? Let's say you have a lead opt-in and then a schedule page. When a lead comes in, there's a form for that lead, and we zap that lead into a spreadsheet. When the booking comes in, we have another worksheet on the bottom of that spreadsheet for bookings. And when that booking comes in, it zaps that booking into the spreadsheet. What we're also doing is using UTM parameters on Facebook ads. So we're capturing the source it comes from, the campaign, the ad set, the ad, right? As long as I know those things, I can start making better decisions. And then we have basically all that data compiles. We have a bunch of fancy rules that you do or don't need, depending on how fancy you want to get. What I just told you would be enough to make decisions, because next time you go into your ad account, you're like, oh, I'm running 10 ads, let's say. Well, just work your way down from the top. Oh, first ad, this one here. Okay, well, how many under UTM content under that column? How many appointments are shown in here with the exact name that's showing in the dashboard? Okay, well, 0. And I've spent like $100. So I would turn that off. Ruben, what's up?
Just a quick question. I use a custom spreadsheet as well, and I've got 2-minute reports linked to Facebook. You probably heard of it, and it basically pulls in the ad spend, the day, cost per impressions, cost per minute, etc. And then I'll just go into high level each morning and look at the dashboard, and it tells me how many intro calls were booked and how many demo calls were booked, and I'll put it in and it auto calculates the rest. Is that enough to get accurate reading?
Well, yes, but you're going to need to know, like, on an individual level, which ads are performing and aren't, right?
Got you. Yeah.
So the answer to that, if you guys don't want to do this and you guys are using high level, what you want to do is go to attribution reports. So go to reporting, attribution reporting, source reports, and then choose your date range in the top right. And then if you scroll down, there'll be like a filter button. And on filter, just filter by event type. So whether it's complete application, submit application, booked appointment, or lead, like survey submitted or something like that, like depending on what event you're trying to track. That will pretty much sort an entire list of every lead that's came in on that specific survey as well, because you can choose which survey it comes from in the filtering, and that will give you all the data you want in that scenario, Ruben.
Also, to add on to that, like one thing that Jason and Luke have been really instrumental with, like it's not also just which one is getting the best cost per book call, which one's getting the best cost per lead, because like Jason, Luke, you guys know our TikTok campaign is getting right now the best cost per lead, best cost per book
Oh,
call.
for sure.
But if we really dive into the data and you guys really get to identify which lead came from which campaign, you can see which people are actually closing, right?
Yeah.
Because the cost per book call may be $10 more on a specific campaign, but those could be the people that are closing. So technically, the ROAS is actually higher on that one.
Treating it like e-com is kind of one of the most powerful things you can do as well. Like actually identifying closes. I think the other thing that everyone misses, that this is a possibility when you have that level of data, is that when you start getting crap in your pipeline, which is going to happen sooner or later, you can actually go and audit where that comes from. So when your sales guys are showing up and complaining about something and saying, this guy called Jerry showed up and Jerry was an eye doctor, he doesn't even fit in this industry. And, and then Susie shows up and Susie's a foot massage therapist or something. It's like, where the hell are these people coming from? You can actually go and realize, oh, they both came from this one specific piece of copy on this one specific ad. I would say like 70% of the time, there's a pattern to where the crap is coming from, and you can just go and kill out even that one thing, and it literally removes 50% of it right away. We got some questions.
Do you guys want to answer questions now or at the end?
I'm down to just shoot as we go, unless you want to dive deeper. I mean, we have some time, right? So
I have something I'll dive into real quick that you guys actually taught me about. Let me show you guys something that Luke showed us, just to we basically just discussed this, but just so you guys have more of a visual as far as what it actually looks like. So based on what Luke taught us and what we found as well from our own, is that what seems to be the most accurate for us is the UTM parameters through high level. So basically, how you set that up is in here. You can just go to high level support portal, assuming I think most of you guys are using high level.
I'm going to give you guys the UTM that works. I'll just paste it in the chat. You guys can all copy it to a doc and go and paste that.
Cool. So basically all you do is you put that in the UTM parameters on the Facebook ads, and then it's going to automatically pull in the ad names and the ad names and stuff like that. You have to make sure, I'm not an expert on this because I'm not the one doing it every day, so you can correct me if I'm wrong, Luke, at any time. But basically, you have to name each ad different. You can't just have the same ads, the same name, or you're not going to be able to tell which ones they were from. But basically, in here, this is something I guess I'd ask you, Luke. But is it possible to see here? You can kind of see what contacts came from which campaigns. But Luke, is there a way to quickly see how many people came from each ad, or you to count them manually up?
Yeah, this is what sucks. The easiest way to do it. So you see on the bottom right, you got that filter button there. That's the one I was mentioning a moment ago. And then you can choose event type in the top right. So you can choose what you if you want survey submitted, that's going to help. So do that.
Okay.
And then hit apply on that in the bottom right. And that's going to filter out all the page views. And now you're just looking at all the surveys. So you have a bunch of appointments coming in somewhere where there aren't UTM set up, or they're coming from a different source. I can see that right now because of all those blank spaces.
Yeah.
But you can see all these ones have UTMs as we went down. You can also see a URL on the right. So if you guys are running 3 landing pages, you can just right click that page URL on the right or get that copy on the right there. Go back to filter again, Billy. And then under referral URL, just paste it in there.
Right here.
Yep.
Yeah, just delete all the crap off the end. So everything else, you got it. And then apply that. And it should just filter everything that came through that landing page as well. So yeah, look on the right now. You guys can all see that it's that same page that everything's coming from. So if you want to do this with a mass amount of data, like bulk data, and do this, I would hit export right there. And then I would just put it into a spreadsheet, and that's going to allow you to filter it and organize it in a much better way. So normally what we have our media buyer do on a daily basis, if we don't have tracking set up, or if ever we just want to audit the data, we come in here and we filter it down to what we know is running, right? So I know that there's a survey on this exact URL. I'll make sure that it looks like I'm getting all of the data on this page. And then I will go and do the same on the booking page if we're doing that. And then I will just export both of those. And then when I'm in a spreadsheet, the media buyer will look over all of that data and just reference it out to ensure everything is accurate. So that's another really simple way you can do this. And this works pretty well if you're not spending a ton of money. But when you're spending like 20, 30 grand a month, you're definitely going to want to kind of build some sort of automation, especially if you're running like 3 funnels. Or you're going to be spending hours comparing ads, and it's going to make you want to cry.
Basically what these are, by the way, guys, are the campaign name, the ad set name, and the ad name. So that way you can know exactly which ad each lead came from, basically.
Yeah, if you guys look in the chat right now, I just posted the UTM parameter you want to paste in Facebook. That's the exact one that will work with GHL and do exactly what we just showed you guys. So I would go and just paste that one in. You can see that I've got these like weird brackets in there, and then campaign name, ad set name, ad name in there. That is basically going to dynamically pull whatever you name the campaign, the ad set, or the ad name, right? So like Billy said, don't go and name an ad, like don't have one ad set saying like, let's just say plumbers, and then you've got like 5 ads in there. Don't call it ad 1, ad 1, ad 1, ad 1, ad 1. Like even though they're different, some people get lazy and they don't update their names.
You're going to get it's going to push through to reporting.
Yeah, you're going to get all this data and it's just going to say everything's from ad 1. So don't do that because you're going to screw yourself. And then you're going to make stupid decisions because your data is not true.
Luke, so how do you guys actually automate that?
Yeah, so we take the survey you have on the front end, and then we take the booking page you would have on the back end. And we literally create a webhook with triggers in GHL. So we go create a trigger triggered off of a survey submission, a form submission, or a calendar submission, like a calendar booking. And then we're webhooking that into Zapier. Zapier is catching that hook, and then it's sending that into a spreadsheet.
Okay. So you're basically taking that report that I just showed you, but putting it in a spreadsheet.
Yeah, exactly. We just automated the spreadsheet. And then we have some formulas that count like how many came in on a day from each source. So we're using count ifs. That's what you're guys are going to want to use if you want to do that. And it's basically going to say count if the source is Facebook and the date is this, right? And then it's going to be able to total up your numbers there.
So that's really interesting. And guys, I hope you're really paying attention to this especially when I talk about ads. Just because I know absolutely nothing about media buying, but everyone wants to talk about creative, the copy, your landing page, right? Oh, is my landing page good, Jared? Oh, how do you like these creatives? But no one talks about the data behind all of these decisions. So I think that was really interesting. That was the first thing that you guys mentioned. I think that's huge. So what about beyond that, though? Where do you really get to after that?
Yeah, that's super good. So that's really important, getting that all clear. But once you have all of that clear, it's really now getting out there and doing something, because most people don't do anything with their ad. They just get in there and they have no structure and they just go and run ads and they just hope that it converts. So I think the next thing is probably making a good campaign structure, because now you have all your data systems set up. It doesn't matter that you have all these data systems set up if you don't set yourself up for collecting the right data with your ad spend, because that's all ad spend is, right? Ad spend is speed. And all we're doing when we're running ads is just collecting data. That's how I think about it, right? Yes, there are appointments as a byproduct. Of course, that's the end goal. But I look at it as buying data, because ultimately I'm just going to continue looking at that data to get a lower cost and just be the best in the space. Like that's the only way you're going to get there. Otherwise, you're guessing, right? So this whole way, we're just trying to eliminate as much guesswork as possible. So for me, the first thing I do is I test audiences. Like if you're spending $1 to like $3,000 a month, $4,000 a month, you'll probably be fine scaling one audience. But if you want consistency with your appointments, you're going to want multiple audiences, especially as you scale up in your spend. There is absolutely no way that you're going to have consistency with one audience. Sample sizes, for example, when testing. Jeremy, that's a good question. So I'm just reading this. Yeah, so do I have sample rules on Do I have any rules on sample sizes? Yeah, so I mean, I think a lot of people overrate tracking which ads close. Like, I think that's super, super deep data that you'll get to very quickly when you spend a lot of money, because there'll be a lot of data and it will compound very quickly. Like, Jared's a great example. Like, we run ads and he's already got 3 closes by the next day, right? And it's like the ad only went live yesterday. We're like, okay, that's ridiculous. Like, I can go in there and look at that data immediately and get like really good information off of that. But for the average agency, I wouldn't focus on that kind of data about closing and stuff necessarily until you start finding problems, right? Like, I would personally focus on your cost per acquisition and making sure that your show rates are good and the people that show up are qualified, because that's an easier metric to measure for you guys. And it's going to be a lot less expensive to optimize for. Like, you've got to think that the risk behind thinking you've got this one ad that, yeah, it's getting a $200 book call when your KPI is 120, but that person closed, right? Out of you had a good cost per acquisition on that. The risk for you rerunning that same budget to reacquire that customer is significantly more when you're only spending 10K a month and you have to spend 1,000 on one ad to prove out if it's going to get a close again, versus if you're spending 50K a month and you spend $1,000. Like, I can literally make $1,000 in a $50,000 spend account disappear, to the point that you look at the KPIs at the end of the month and you're going to see like a 20-cent difference. But you're not going to make $1,000 disappear in like 8K spend. Like, it's just, you're going to feel it. It's going to hurt. So as for what's a good sample size though, and like what's a good time frame to be checking your data, I would say once a day. I mean, like, for us, at least once a day. We're checking data 3 times a day on every ad account. But I would say at least once a day is going to get you by. And unless
it depends on how much you're spending too.
If you're spending like 30 grand in anything, I haven't found a niche where I can spend 30 grand and not look at it. Like, I have to be looking twice a day at least.
Yeah, if you're spending several K a day, you really want to be in there probably 3 times. If you're spending like 5K a month, then, you know, once a day is probably fine.
Damn. I wish I had you guys when I had my e-com agency. I'm just like, yeah.
So yeah, I was talking about setting yourself up for success with your campaign structure so you can actually collect clear data. Audience testing is always the #1 thing. You guys are just going to want to figure out what audiences you can run to. And I think it's underrated, because if you set yourself up with the right structures, it's actually going to build consistency. And I think from all the agencies we speak with, the biggest problems they have is a lack of consistency, right? You have a winner, it's going well for a week, 2 weeks, and then boom, everything dies. And now my sales guys are complaining because it's empty again. And we just continue this like wave, which freaking sucks. So the way to mitigate that is what we call horizontal scaling. And the reason we call it horizontal is most people, just for like an image, most people are building one big tower, right? They're building this one campaign that's crushing, that they scale it up, and then eventually the tower falls and then they have nothing again and they have to start from scratch, right? But what you want to do is not just build this one tower, because when you build this one tower, you go, hey, this is working, right? This is doing great. But you want to expand out so that you have multiple towers, right? So then if one audience fatigues and 3 to 4 ads die on that one audience, there's still 3 or 4 more audiences running that winning ad that are converting. So it's going to give you time to replace it and rebuild that tower before the next one falls, right? So at any one time, I've got like 4 or 5 towers that look like monster towers, you know, performing. And then one falls and I'm like, whatever, it doesn't matter. I've still got 4 that are crushing, right? And by the time the next one falls, I've already replaced it. So getting those extra audiences in the ad account is going to be one of the biggest things for you guys if you want to scale your ad accounts. And also finding the lowest cost and the best quality. Some audiences, yeah, they scale, but they kind of suck when it comes to quality, right? We've seen that a lot in different niches. So make sure you're testing audiences. I don't think you can test too many audiences, but what I will tell you guys, when you are testing, test one variable at a time. Like, do not get in there and start building a campaign with 5 different pieces of copy and 6 different images and 2 different funnels and 2 different pixels, like
3 headlines.
3 headlines. I'm like, don't go and do that, because when something works, you're going to have absolutely zero clue why it worked and why it scaled. What you want to do is get in there and put one campaign. Don't do any more than 5 ad sets. Put them on ABO, like ad set budget optimization, because you want even spend or your data is going to be really hard to read. And then inside each ad set, put your 3 to 5 ads, but make sure each ad set has the exact same ads. Like, don't go fancy in one and simple in the other. It's all going to be the exact same. The only variable here is the audience, right? And once I've done that, I'm going to know after about, depending on your spend, but realistically, probably 1 to 2 weeks of spend, I'm going to know what my top performing audiences are. And that's going to set me up to be able to scale. Because now I can build a second campaign. I'm going to leave that one running. I'm going to kill anything that's out of KPI. I'm going to build a second campaign. And this one, I'm just going to be testing to my winning audience. I have one audience, my best audience, and I'm going to just keep taking shots in the dark, complete wild shots, right? Like, I think this could work really well. Boom, go and run it. If it works,
you've already proven the audience will convert at that point.
Yeah. If it works, awesome. If it doesn't work, well, keep going. Like, don't stop. Keep adding new stuff consistently. And essentially, when it works, all you're going to do is just duplicate that winner over into the other campaign with all the audiences that's already scaled, right? And you're just going to shut off the one ad that's been dying and isn't performing. And I think that's super important, because I used to try a million media buying techniques in this niche and just keep relaunching campaigns. But if you go in any of our ad accounts now, you'll look at our campaign and be like, damn, this campaign spent like 25 grand, instead of it being like $900, and then you turn it off and then you relaunch it, right? So work smarter, not harder. Jeremy, what's up?
When you test new ads and you have a winning ad that you just found, would you suggest duplicating that in a proven audience? Because my understanding, that might reset the learning of the audience.
So help me understand that. You're saying once I've found an ad in a winning audience, would I duplicate it?
So would you duplicate it into a proven campaign, or would you duplicate it into a new campaign?
Yeah, if an ad's working in my testing phase, which I'm running to just one audience, right? So I've got one campaign, one ad set, one ad. I'm forcing the spend to my winning audience and I'm hoping that it scales. If it starts winning, I'm going to leave that on, and then I'm going to duplicate that ad into different audiences in a different campaign. So don't kill it if it's working, is my best advice. Like, you can kill it, but I'm not going to get into the complex logic behind the killing it and audience overlap. It works totally fine. Just keep it running and then duplicate that ad into your scaling campaign, which has all your proven audiences in there, and just let that one ad run to every single audience in there, right?
Okay, but if you duplicate it into a scaling campaign,
yep,
should we not be worried about resetting the learning of the audiences?
Well, you're not going to reset the learning, because you're not turning anything on or off. You're just adding something in, right?
Okay.
So I'm not duplicating the ad set. I think that's important to note. The ad set carries the majority of the learning with Facebook, like the campaign and the ad set carries the majority of the data. So I'm duplicating the ad into
just the ad,
into maybe 4 ad sets with different audiences in a different campaign. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's not going to reset your learning. And I will say this, the learning thing, I don't know how I feel about this learning limited thing, right? Like, everyone says, you want to get out of learning limited and it's the most important thing. Well, I've scaled like multiples of millions, like in returns out of literally only learning limited campaigns.
Yeah.
Some niches, there is no way you're going to escape learning limited. Like, if you go into the chiropractic niche and like start pulling the world's best offer that no chiropractor has seen before, and it's like 3 years ago when they first saw a Facebook ad for marketing, you're not going to get enough conversions to get the campaign out of Learning Limited. Like, it's just not going to happen. So you have two options. One is accept it. And I think that's the easiest one. And option two is go down the funnel and go, well, if I'm not going to get 50 bookings, can I get 50 applications? If I can't get 50 applications, can I get 50 leads? If I can't do that, can I get 50 emails? Real estate's different. Like big niches like that, you can get out. But some of these more competitive, smaller niches, you're just going to have to accept Learning Limited and just follow the data. And it shouldn't be the end of the world. I mean, like I said, we've scaled millions and millions and millions of dollars while being in Learning Limited in the majority of our accounts.
So I have a campaign that's getting me an awesome CPL. It's like $3 CPL. And the thing is, I'm dealing with a lot of no-shows from the leads that are pulling in. They're all like Spanish people that like they can't really speak English. So when it comes to an ad set that's giving you a really good CPL, but the leads are, they're not really that good, what kind of changes would you make to be able to increase that kind of quality?
Super solid question. Is this B2C or B2B?
B2B.
Damn, $3 leads, dude. You're doing something right. What are they opting in for? Are they opting in for like a lead magnet or something?
It's 60 guaranteed appointments, and then it's a lead form with 4 questions to a Calendly page.
You have 4 questions on there?
It's like the 1 custom and then the 3 autofill.
Okay, so you only have 1 question as a qualifier.
Mm-hmm.
I would do 2 things if you want to improve quality on a lead form. I mean, there's no guarantee that lead form's going to generate you any good leads. Like I will say that actually for everyone, we do use lead forms. The only time we ever use Facebook lead forms is for testing audiences when we have and just angles in general. So if we walk into an ad account and we have 0 idea what's going on and what to do, and we're just taking a shot in the dark, we're going to use lead forms because it's the cheapest way to find success, right? If I know a lead, if I can't get conversions on a lead form that are a good fit, then I know that we're in the wrong place. Like, I'm not going to go build a funnel. So Nathan, to answer your question, when it comes to quality like that, I mean, the first thing is adding more questions in, right? And further qualifying them, add more friction to the process because your cost isn't the problem. So I'd rather pay $9 and have people that actually show up and take it seriously. So add more questions. I mean, some examples of that could be like, where are you currently at in your business and where do you want to go? If we were to send you an additional 60 patients, would your team be able to handle that? That would be a good one. What are your 2022 goals, or where do you plan to take your business during the year of 2022? Something like that, right? And then I wouldn't necessarily give them multiple choice because you'd rather them type the answers because it, again, adds more friction. So it's going to show more quality. I would go in your lead form and turn on higher intent if you haven't already done that. So you can, I think that's the first option on the lead form. And that's basically going to allow them to like see the data, and then they have to swipe to approve their data before they submit it. So it adds an extra step. And then from there, I mean, see how that increases your performance. And then I would look at the data, right? Like I would look at your leads at that point. If you keep planning to do that, maybe you're running to like 3 different audiences. I would like collect that UTM data, which actually on lead forms, it's really easy. Just go into Facebook and download the data. And I believe all the ads that each lead comes from is already attached. And I would look and just mark off the guys in red that were like wasting your time. Just like mark that whole row red. And then just look at the commonalities on the right-hand side and be like, damn, 60% of them are coming from this one audience that wastes my time. So
try to eliminate an audience.
Yeah.
Another thing is if you're getting really good cost, you could also try to flip it to a funnel at this point.
Yeah.
Because it's like you've already proven that you're getting leads, even though they're not showing up, it's a lead form. So, but they're still opted in and it's a low cost. I mean, usually when we're doing audience testing and we start with the lead ad, we're just looking to see if we can get some type of momentum, some type of opt-ins. We're not necessarily looking for them to show up and close. We're just like, hey, this audience, hey, we're getting opt-ins. So let's take it a step further and push them to a funnel and try to improve the quality now. If we wouldn't even get opt-ins, we wouldn't go to a funnel because it's like, man, we're not even getting opt-ins on a lead form. We're probably not going to get somebody to actually go through this funnel if we can't even get this so less friction opt-in on a lead form. So once you're getting the opt-ins, I mean, the quality is always going to be somewhat crap on a lead form. You know, we've tested a lot of lead forms, and there's not many people. We were talking to one the other day, Luke. You know, one of our clients, like we even mentioned on the call, like, dude, you're like one of the only agencies that actually closes at a high rate from a lead form. And that's just because he's a beast and he's really, really good on the phone and he's really, really good at follow-up. And actually, he even said that most of the time he closes people, it's like 3 or 4 months later after they opted in to the lead form. So he's just constantly hitting them, constantly hammering them. We just talked to him 2 days ago and he just made a close and he's like, this lead opted in on October. You know, I don't know anyone that really wants to play that game. That's good for him. But like Luke said, I mean, definitely try to narrow it down, like the junk leads or the less quality leads, to a specific audience that you can remove, or do that or start pushing people to a funnel. Because like you're already getting the opt-in. So I mean, there's something in there is working to an extent, which kind of passes the first test.
And I would say with that kind of opt-in, like, don't overcomplicate your funnel. I think that's the biggest thing. Everyone, like, I think execution is the most important thing when it comes to paid ads. Like, Jason and I do a full launch of all of our agency partners in 7 days, right? So we get everything down, everything we need to know in 7 days. But don't overcomplicate your funnels. I mean, most of the time we've spent like hours and hours and hours building funnels and writing copy on funnels. It hasn't converted better than a simple headline, sub-headline, 3 bullets, and a calendar or a lead form.
Yeah.
And it's super unfortunate because I wish that, you know, it would be the separator for all the people that actually went and put the hard work in, but it's not. And I mean, it's an exception, I wouldn't say, when it does work with a long form, rather than it being the norm.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
go super simple there and do it that way.
Luke, can I ask a fun question?
Yeah.
What are some of the niches that have the highest cost per lead typically they've seen?
That's a really good one.
Dental
is really high. Chiro is usually worse, I would say.
How much are you talking?
So the highest
for a lead or cost per booked appointment?
Lead. Or both, whatever.
Lead and Chiro. I think it's been a long while since Chiro. The most recent survey applications I've been getting in Chiro have been about $50, $55, which is really good for Chiro. Like, that's phenomenally good. The cheapest lead magnet I've had in Chiro, I think, has been $20. But the cheapest direct to a book call on an offer, like an average that I see, is like $300.
Yeah. So what's like the average lead then?
It's hard to say. It depends what you're running, right? Because you can also say
average like qualified lead, like landing page, simple landing page type lead.
Right. If you have a fire offer and a good lander and a really good flow, like $55, $60. If you're doing well. Like, I mean, that's average. I mean, sometimes you'll beat it, sometimes you won't, but that's kind of what I'm seeing.
Yeah. One thing that I thought
on your spend. Actually, guys, I should mention that the answer to scaling isn't always just double your spend. And I think that's something that we all just have been told is just double your spend, or we just assume logically, if I double my spend, I'll double my outcome, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way, because I can tell you that when I'm hitting $55 leads, I'm also spending 20 grand a month. So if I went in and spent like 2 grand a month, I guarantee you my costs would be lower.
Yeah, it would drop significantly.
Yeah.
Because you're giving Facebook less to work with, right? I mean, it's an algorithm, it's a machine. If you're like, hey guys, like I want you to optimize for the best cost per lead, and I'm going to give you $10 a day. Well, now the robot, the machine's going to go out there and they have $10 to work with, and they're going to try their damned hardest to get leads for $10 because that's what you're giving them. And at the end of the day, they want you to win and they want you to succeed. They want you to keep spending money, right? So they want you to get a result out of that. If you're saying like, hey, I need a conversion, like a lead conversion, and I'm going to give you $10 and I need the most that you can get me, they're actually going to try to make that happen. Now, some people are doing that, and some people may get $2 to $3 leads. On the other token, somebody may be spending $100 and telling Facebook the same thing, right? Like, hey, I want as many leads as you can give me, the most optimized, but here's $100. So on the first example, Facebook only has $10 to work with. So they're really stretching, and their algorithms really trying to like squeeze everything and really get you results. The $100, Facebook's like, hey, we got a little bit more margin. They don't got to squeeze as hard. So the more you spend, the more that your KPI is going to go up as far as like cost per lead or cost per call. And, you know, just like if someone's spending $100K a month compared to someone spending $5K a month, those numbers, the $5K a month's numbers on the front end are going to look better. Usually, like their cost per lead, cost per booked appointment is going to look better. On the downside, they're going to scale less, right? Because they're spending a lot less. So their cap of earnings and revenue for that month is going to be way less than the cap at the $100,000. So you got to kind of find that sweet spot when you're scaling. Like on the flip side of spending too little, like we've had accounts come to us that are doing good, you know, and they're like, guys, like they're still saying double, but they're already spending like 75K a month, right? They're like, guys, let's spend 150,000 a month, you know? And the other problem is you start to spend more and more, that optimization gets extremely tricky, you know, because you're giving Facebook so much margin to work with. Like you're spending 100K a month, maybe you were seeing $5 leads or $6 leads, Nathan, when you're spending like 5K, but you run that same thing at $100,000 a month, you're not seeing no $5 leads. You know, you're just not, because Facebook's spending so much more. Like they're trying to learn so much faster themselves. So it's you do got to find that that sweet balance of like what is the optimal ad spend per month where I'm still staying within a good KPI that I feel comfortable with, but I'm also getting the maximum ROI on the back once everything's said and done. Like my ROI is still high. There's definitely a cap to that, and we've hit that cap in certain markets before. Actually, in a lot of markets, we've hit that cap in Cairo, we've hit that cap in real estate. And it gets to a certain point where you're spending more money, but you're not making more profit. Like you're spending 5 more thousand to make an extra 1,000 or something.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. You're taking home an extra 1,000 and burning your team out.
And burning the team out, yeah.
And I guess on Bill to finish up on what kind of Billy was saying for like highest cost per leads, highest cost per bookings. I mean, I've definitely seen some stuff where we've spent like $300 an appointment, $400 an appointment. I mean, some of our niches like are willing to spend $400 an appointment to get the close.
Right? Their lifetime value is so high.
Which is why the first thing Jason said, right, is get that retention down, because the person that's going to win in this game is the person that can spend the most to acquire the customer.
Yep.
Yeah. So
that's why we have
product being absolutely fire. I will say though, as a reference, like I've got a crap ton better as a media buyer than when I started last year, because I'm just going through so much data on a daily basis in these niches at this point. So where we used to scale at a $300 appointment, what I would say is, yeah, that was extremely profitable. And we probably spent over my time, we spent about $210,000 on ads during 9 months, but that generated 2.4 million. So yeah, I was paying $300 to make that kind of return, but I'm like going back now looking at the data, and it's just about not settling, I think, as well, because there is ways to get a cheaper book call than $300. I mean, I actually am still working with that account now, but we had a break, and then they kind of
it's way
3 times less than it used to cost. Like
I
now,
think like the book call now is like what 150, 125.
Yeah, it's like on a good day it's down to 120.
Yeah.
So
ours is, I was just gonna say ours is like our cost per acquisition of the average of the last 12 months has been like $2,000.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for cost per acquisition, the highest I've seen is 3,300. Right. But yeah, that's like, I mean, $2,000 is pretty normal in this niche, like in most niches now. And I think like, I mean, real estate, Jared's over there just going, I picked a nice one. It's like, yeah, sure you did. they also don't show up to their calls.
But also, Jared's doing a lot of things right. Like, it's
Yeah.
funny because, we've also talked to real estate agencies where they're like, realtors suck. They never show up. They don't do this. They don't do that. And then we hop on with Jared, 6-figure months. So it's all, it's all mindset, right? Like every niche has pros and cons. Every niche is a pain in the ass for some different things. Some of them, like, realtors and contractors, they don't show up a lot because they're out in the field. Like they get calls. They're not worried about the call they booked with you at 2:00 in the morning where they were scrolling mindlessly through Facebook. They just got a call for an appointment to go show a house, or a contractor. Like they're not worried about the call they booked when they were having a beer, like staring at their phone. They just got a call to go quote a roof, So, I mean, there's certain niches that have bad show up rate. But at the end of the day, like all of it works. All the markets work if you have the fundamentals down. If you know your data, you have a good offer, and you have a good fulfillment. You have a good product. And if the lifetime value's there, like Luke was saying, like whoever spends the most wins a game, it's all about lifetime value. One of our clients, which this is the highest lifetime value that we've ever encountered. I've been in the game for like 10 years, and this is the highest lifetime value we've ever encountered. This is actually higher than Alex Hormozy. And it's funny because, like, I don't even think he really understood his numbers to an extent.
Yeah.
And when we started digging in, we're like, dude, this is freaking amazing, man. Like, you're higher than Alex Hormozy. He's like, what, really? And it's like, yes, really. Like, what's wrong with you?
What is it?
And it was 33,000 is his lifetime
No, it's
value.
44.
Or 44. 44,000. Okay. Yeah.
You're saying his lifetime value is 44K?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shit.
Because he charges.
Close.
Yep.
Your Billy actually has a phenomenal LTV, actually.
Ours on Stripe at least says 39K. Who was looking at last?
Oh yeah. So yeah, you're right there. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man. That's extremely, extremely good. Because he basically charged 5,000 setup and then 3,500 a month, and then they stay on for 10 months. That's what it was. So yeah, you're right, Luke. That was
What's Hormozy's?
Yeah, 43.5 was his lifetime value.
It depends how you calculate Hormozy's, right? Because Hormozy has a few backend products. And I mean, they might be changing, right? This is just last time from what I understand. But the last, I believe his average LTV on a customer is like 30 to 35K. Maybe
it was close.
40. But then what happens is he has his other companies. He has like Prestige Labs, which partner with the gyms and like give them supplements and stuff. The gym buys the supplements and sells the supplements to the consumer. I think his total LTV all in with all of his companies is 50K. But I like in general on actual his agency, when it comes to just the agency, it's definitely not 44K. Like I think it's between 35 and like 40.
Yeah.
So
I will say something that we've noticed about our niche, it seems to like balance itself out in a way. Our niche seems to be extremely difficult to get customers.
Yeah.
But they stay for a super long time.
Yeah.
So I guess it kind of balances out.
good product.
Yeah,
I think
that's another extremely hard industry too. I was just going to say one quick note, like, on a $43,000 lifetime value, I mean, even if someone's willing to spend up to 30% to acquire, that's almost $13,000, right? And they don't even spend nowhere near that. But that just shows you, if this guy is willing to spend, $10,000, $13,000 to acquire a customer, everybody else in the market that has a 6K retainer, like lifetime value, I mean, they can come nowhere close because this guy can spend more to acquire a customer than your entire lifetime value. So this guy can obviously flood the market and just completely own that niche. And he does, I mean, he's got close to, 85 clients at this point. And it's big for the market he's in. And he's just,
I mean, every month he's closing about 440K in lifetime value.
So once you get there,
it's crazy.
So that's why it just goes back to recap, and we keep saying it, but that's why it's so important to know your numbers, know what the lifetime value is, and then know your numbers on how to scale. And then you can really and then like Luke said, have the balls to do it, right? Like actually go out there and take action. And like, I mean, this guy didn't have all the ducks in a row and things when he got started either, really when we first started talking to him, I didn't really know a lot about his agency. And it would be an agency where I'm like, I don't know if that would really do that great. And then we start taking the numbers, and I'm like, whoa, that's a freaking gold mine. But like, if I was starting that, like, that would, like, the direction he went would not be mine or probably anybody else's, like, natural, like, oh, let's go in this market. Like, I just don't think it's something that people would have really thought about. But he went for it, and look where he's at now for doing it, you know?
Yeah, what's up? Jared, I'm gonna get. We'll come back to you, Jared. I got you. Neil, I think you're muted or something. I can't hear you.
Oh yeah, sorry. Is two questions. One is like, is your backend funnel just like a lead form and then a appointment?
Yeah,
not
I mean,
Facebook lead form. Like,
yeah, I'm with you. It depends on the niche, and what I'd like to do in a minute is actually pull up some data on a high level and show you guys like how we use metrics to make deeper decisions in our ad accounts. I think that's going to be the most valuable thing I can give you guys to take away. But it really depends, Neil. I mean, we're testing so much for clients that don't work. Like, I mean, when a client works, like, yeah, we're testing, but we're not getting through as many funnels. I mean, we've had accounts where we've had to go through 4 funnels in like a month to try and figure out what works. So it really depends. I mean, usually I would say if you want to go a 2-step, go a survey to a booking instead of a form to a booking, because surveys allow micro commitments, which people have no problem clicking buttons on a website, but they do when it comes to giving information.
Luke, would it be okay if I showed mine real quick just so they can see a visual?
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it. Billy has a good funnel.
We change it all the time, but in general, it looks almost the exact same. The only thing that we change all the time is the top part here. Sometimes we don't have 3 bullet points. Sometimes we just have like 1 sentence. It's like, it's very simple. It's literally just this. It has like our offer, and then like sometimes bullet points, sometimes not. And then we have 2 qualifying questions.
Go ahead.
And high level lets you like qualify people based on their answers. So depending on what they answer to these 2, they get sent to a different thank you page. And they also, like, one of them will get put into our automation and one of them will not, basically. So, and also the Facebook pixel only counts a lead if they're a qualified lead, so it can learn who is the qualified people, basically. But
and
yeah,
also, guys, just look at the funnel, you know, like, it's not the prettiest funnel that you've ever seen, right? Like, I think this was kind of like a real eye opener for me, like, because definitely, you know, 5+ years ago, I was always trying to create the most beautiful looking funnel. Like, I thought that would be the winner. Like, what makes me different? My shit looks better than yours, you know, like, my funnel looks sick, my branding's sick, and all of that. But I think that's not really the case. I mean, like Luke said earlier, like, in some cases, yeah, maybe it can give you a potential edge up, but for the most part, across the board, it's definitely not the norm. Like, it's usually the ugly stuff that actually performs. I mean, the offer's the king, right? Like, if the offer is really, really good and strong, then everything else can be less strong. It can be more mediocre, the better the offer is.
The opposite of dating.
The what?
The opposite of dating. Just go and apply the opposite of dating to your funnels and you'll win.
Yeah. But yeah, it's not always the prettiest funnel. You know, it's more about the offer, and on the landing page, it's, you know, the headline. You know, it's the headline, and that needs to be congruent to the offer, and that's really all it is.
And I would say that the funniest thing we've discovered is funnels fatigue. So if you guys are like going through stuff and you've just been scaling something for like 6 to 9 months or something, I don't know, some extended period of time where you're like, man, this has been going really good for a long while, and then all of a sudden everything drops off the face of the earth. There's absolutely a possibility that, or when you see all that stuff slowing down, it's probably going to have in some format something to do with your funnel. Yeah. And you've got to remember, it may not be just because of you. It's not like you're that powerful and you've overspent that much in the niche. Like, no, it's probably that 3 other agencies have came along and swiped the same damn funnel.
You're doing the same
Every
thing.
single person in the niche, when they click on an ad, is looking at the same damn freaking lander. Right.
Yeah, something that we do as well is we just change the color sometimes.
Yeah, that's what I was going to recommend. So, like, yeah, if you think your funnel's fatigued, then like the steps to fix it is like change the headline and change the color. Like Billy had the blue, like I would make that green or red or a different color. Like, you just want it to be different. Like, you don't want someone to click through on the landing page and be like, oh, I've seen this before. Even if it wasn't Billy, it could have been someone else that swiped Billy. But, you know, you got to be aware of what your market's seeing, like on the regular, like what kind of ads are they seeing? What kind of landing pages are they seeing? What kind of creatives are they seeing? And you want to do it, what kind of offers are they seeing? And you want to do it a little bit different. You don't have to get super crazy with it. You just don't want them thinking they've seen that before, or they've even talked to the agency before. Like they may see Billy's creative and funnel and think like, oh, well, this is Bob that I talked to last week. No, it's not, right? It's just Bob swiped Billy's funnel and it looks exactly like the funnel you're looking at now. So you want to make it just a little bit different than what everyone else is seeing in the marketplace. So like look at your competitors and see what their format looks like. If they're using a bunch of emojis, then don't use emojis. You know, if they're using like a bunch of ads with this color, then use this color. And it's usually just little small tweaks that can make all the difference.
You said something really interesting, Jason, about being different. And I notice personally, and I'm a huge believer in creatives, as you guys know, and having really strong content. And I notice so many agency owners and all my students too, for the most part. Nathan, you do a really good job at it, actually. But besides that, I don't really see anyone else really doing it. I don't see anyone really getting creative, consistently pumping out new content. How important is that? Or is it really not that big of a deal?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on your results, right? If you're struggling, then yeah, you've got to separate. I think if you're beginning, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think if you're beginning, just start getting leads and find what works, right? Get the fundamentals down.
Refine from there.
If you're trying to scale, I think it becomes more and more important the more you scale, because there's only so many eyeballs in these niches, right? Like we're not in, yes, we're on a national level, but it's not like ecom, right? It's not like a toothpaste. Like everyone uses toothpaste. Like I can sell that to like 365 million people in America, but I can't, there's not 365 million realtors, sadly, right? And it's probably a good thing because otherwise we wouldn't need realtors, right? So if you're spending a lot and your frequency is getting really high and you can't keep finding new audiences, yeah, separating yourself out is going to be extremely important, because you're going to fatigue your stuff extremely quick. Like we've had accounts where we're spending 111,000 in a month was our top month in one of these niches. And
yeah, we had to flip creatives like every 48 to 72 hours. I mean, we create hundreds of creatives. So it's kind of like what Luke's saying too. I'll just piggyback off that. Like, yeah, I think it's where you're at in your business. Like if you're just getting started, then get started and start dialing in the process. But it's definitely based on scale. Also, if you're just getting started, you're not spending a lot, scaling a lot. But like as you start to scale, like it becomes more important as you start to scale. You know, we're spending $100,000 a month on an account. Our creatives are burning out. The market's seeing that stuff so fast, and you still have your competitors copying you. But even without your competitors copying you, at that point, the market is just seeing all your stuff so fast. So regardless if it's like on the smaller side where your competitors are copying you, the market's seeing it. Well, in this case, when you're spending a lot, it don't matter as much what your competitors are doing because you're flooding the market anyways with your own stuff. So you don't want them clicking your ad thinking they've been there before either, even if they know it's you. So you always want to come at different angles.
And at that
definitely
point,
based on skill.
And at that point, that's where you're going to see funnels fatigue like freaking crazy. Like there's insane differences in funnel conversion rates when you start doing split tests with that much traffic. Like it's shocking because even though it's 1%, you're like, oh, 1% doesn't sound like that much. Yeah, it is when you're spending $100,000 a month. Like, and even for Jared, I mean, Jared's not spending a little. I don't know, Jared, are you cool if I tell him how much you spend?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, so Jared's spending about $35,000 a month on ads, right? And we still will do split tests for Jared, right? Like we'll do split tests on accounts that are way smaller than that, and we'll see big differences. I mean, if you can get a 4% bump on anything, that's super good. But what I will say, when you split test, don't just go like and flip everything 100% to your new split test, because so many times it doesn't work. Like we're usually taking 3 to 5 tests to beat a lander that we built. Like that's usually how many it takes on average to beat something out that's already crushing. And we might get
that-
2% gain.
And that's why too in our sandbox, as far as on the ad level, we're typically only testing under 30% a day. Like we want most of our ad spend to go into like the winning audiences and the winning ads, but we do constantly test too in the sandbox, just so we're building those towers out, like Luke was saying. But we also don't go crazy with the testing, because as you test your KPI, your numbers are going to go up more too. So you want to make sure that that needs to be a good balance. So, I would test like maybe 30%, maybe even 15 or 20% on your testing phases, and then make sure that the bulk majority, the 70 to 80% of your income, 70 to 80% of your ad spend is actually going to your winning stuff. And then you're always testing with like the 15 to 25. And just start with what works in the beginning. But definitely, I would say that like ultimately I would think everybody's goal is to scale. Like, I don't know if anybody starts on like, oh, I just want to make this and stay here for the rest of my life. Even if you think that when you get started, you make that number and then that number is not as great as it sounded. When we all get started, we're like, man, if I can just get to $10,000 a month, like I will just be freaking set. But you get the $10,000 a month and you're like, man, this ain't shit. Like, I need to get to 25, like, so you're always like hitting the goal and then realizing that you were thinking too small and that really didn't solve all your problems. So, the ultimate goal, should be to scale, to scale to the point where you're happy with your life. You're not stressing yourself or your team out, but you're making a very good ROI on that. And to get there, you are going to eventually have to, create, try to get more creative to an extent, but yeah, you definitely don't want to try to be the most creative person in the room. I would start, if I was just getting started, I would just go out there and find what's working and do that. And then just keep like falling forward and tweaking things and dialing things in. And then soon I would catch my own rhythm and momentum of what my style looks like. And you get your style through experience too. Like the more people you start serving, the more you start understanding the market, the more you can get creative. Jared's really good at doing creative videos because he also really understands the market and understands their pain points and can really do it in a creative way that's relatable.
Nathan, did you have a question?
Yes. What are the biggest levers that you've used to prevent no-shows? Because like I mentioned earlier, my lead cost is like on the campaign level, it's like $2 to $6. But I'm having a lot of no-shows, bad leads, right? So what are some things that you guys do and the agencies you partner with to prevent no-shows?
I'm going to give you a fairly simple answer on this because I think it's going to help you more in the long run. When someone schedules a call, you have to think like, why wouldn't they show up? I mean, the only reason someone wouldn't make time for you is because they're not excited, right? They're not convinced you can help them. So with that in mind, I think that is going to give you a lot more room for innovation and creative thought when it comes to doing new things that other agencies aren't doing to get people to show up to a call. But I can give you some like genuine go-tos. First is the follow-up sequence, like definitely send a lot of emails and a lot of text. If you really want to separate yourself, like make sure you're adding results in those things and you're delivering value. Like join our group and get the free scripts that Susie just used to scale her business by 100K in 30 days, right? Holy crap, now they join the group and they see 50 case studies like posted down the group and like all these testimonials and they're like, damn, these guys are the real deal. Then you text them, hey, did you see John's case study in our group? And we literally text them a picture of it or text them the link to the video with a thumbnail. And there's John talking about how he did 50 grand in like a week, right? So we'll keep doing that and like getting the results in front of them, because ultimately the reason they're coming to you is they want the end result. They've already expressed desire and interest in that. And you just need to keep pushing on that desire and also improving the believability that you can solve it, right? So the other thing you could do if you want to be really creative is like send them a voicemail. That's one. Send them a personalized video. Like that's a really good one. And I would do think of this. If someone sent you a Loom recorded of you on their website, and you're scrolling down their website, right? And they're gonna be like, holy crap, that's my website in the thumbnail. And then here I am like calling the person out personally and like introducing myself to them. I think it's gonna go 10 times further than what any other agency has done.
Yeah.
So
and that also just depends on where your business is at too. Like it sounds like where you're at, you can do all that stuff. As you start to scale, then you may not be as personalized. But in the beginning, I would, whatever you got to do, right, to like build some rapport, keep them excited, and get them to show up. You know, also like just don't let them book out no more than like 72 hours on the calendar. You know, if they're booking out 10 days later, I mean, they're not going to remember. Our life's going to get in the way. So keeping a tight calendar, keeping them excited.
Yeah, that's super big.
Showing proof, you know, stats. Those are probably the biggest things.
I don't think there's any exciting formula to it, unfortunately. Oh, the other thing is just set yourself up for success. Don't let people book 2 weeks out.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, only 72 hours.
Yeah.
But what's your question?
Yeah, so also, I think this applies to a few other people. So I'm in funeral homes. It's like a relatively small niche, I guess like 19,000 is, what was I going to say? Like, do you run more of a risk of burning out or getting to everybody when your niche is smaller like that? Or is there any difference?
It does depend on your market sophistication level, because if funeral directors have never seen Facebook ads for blowing up their business, then I mean, you could probably show that ad 8 times to 19,000 of them, and they're still going to be excited every time they see it, right?
Yeah.
But if they're getting bombarded, like, I mean, pick like a chiropractor, right? Like a chiropractor's Facebook feed is literally ruined. Like, poor soul. But
yeah, it's all marketing offers, and they're seeing the same stuff every day. It's like, oh, great, another 25 guaranteed leads coming in, you know, like just like the last 5 companies I signed up with, you know.
Any idea why that is? Like, how did chiropractic? This seems like such a random like industry to be so competitive.
Probably Dan Henry.
Yeah, Dan Henry.
It's easy. Yeah.
Like when the agency game really started, like, you know, Dan Henry pushed Kairos a lot. You know, Kairos is like the dog industry when people are teaching e-com. You know, like all the coaches and stuff, like when they're teaching, they all like, let's take the Cairo niche for an example. And that's like what they all teach on, just like e-com products, you know, they're like, oh, let's take the dog market, for example. So I think what happened was everyone like learned, for the most part, well, not everyone, but a lot of people in these internet marketing circles, they first learned of this game with a chiropractic example. So they're like, oh, well, I'm going to go in the chiropractic niche.
Yeah, everybody's natural.
It worked for JR, it worked for Dan Henry, you know, and so that's probably the main reason. And then, you know, it's evergreen, right? So you still got new people coming in the market now, and they're still like, oh, I'm going to go in the chiro niche. When really, like, that's probably one of the worst niches to go in right now, because it's like, dude, it's so saturated, you know. But yeah, Neil, it also go back to your question, you know, yeah, like Luke said, it really depends on the market sophistication. I mean, what are they seeing? You know, like what are they seeing in their newsfeed? What are other agencies like yours, you know, promoting to them? Like, are they promoting ads to them? Are they promoting lead gen? What do their graphics look like? What do their offers look like? You know, I would go look at like the top 5 or 10, if there's even that many, I don't know, but however many competitors you have that's also offering service to funeral homes, what are their offers? You know, and also if their offers are guaranteed leads, well, then maybe yours can be appointments. Like, how can you take it a step further with a new offer? Or if they've never even seen leads, then leads are going to do well. You know, like Luke said, if this is the first time they're ever seeing offers about how to grow your business with Facebook ads, well, that's going to be appealing to them. If they've seen that for the past year or two, it's not going to be as appealing, because they're like, yeah, I've seen this, I've used this. So I would see what your competitors are, what their competitors' offers are, and what the funeral homes are seeing on their newsfeed from marketing companies. I will say that with like smaller niche like that, I mean, Cairo is a smaller niche, and so is MedSpot, which we're both in, but those are still probably over 30,000, 19 small. But even in the 30,000, we're massively, they're doing 6 figures a month. I will say that it's definitely based on the sophistication, but you also, you may have to present a couple of different angles to them to find out what really is going to be attractive. I know we have that, we definitely, as you try to scale that, definitely like in the med spot, we definitely have to think every couple of weeks, we're definitely looking at everything saying like,
what's next?
What's next? Like what else can we serve this small market? Because like in this case, we're spending a good bit on ads and they're just seeing, like the whole market sees all of our stuff so quick that we're always kind of having to change it up a little bit, even if it's not a lot. Just like I said, just a little bit, so it's something different. Like we don't want them clicking it and saying, "Oh, this is the same thing that I looked at 6 months ago or that I tried with this other agency." You always need to be the new vehicle, as Russell Brunson would say. You need to present them the new vehicle.
I was gonna show you guys a quick data breakdown and sort of how we focus on data from a high level, because I think ultimately if you understand that decision-making process better on how we troubleshoot where the issues are in an account, you're gonna all be set up for much better success. Doing this. So we're gonna do this.
And guys, we're about to build out some new KPI trackers for fulfillment that I'll be sharing with you guys so that you can better track your data as well. And you guys already have my new sales KPI tracker, so you could definitely start leveraging all of that.
Where's my sheet gone? There it is. That's the wrong one. It's super weird. I have like Google deciding to like overlay on my screen. It's awesome. There we go. Cool. Okay, so this is basically one of our sheets that we use, and this is a master tracking sheet is what we call it. But essentially we're tracking on a high level the week, the spend for the week, the Facebook dashboard data, opt-ins, and then we're tracking booked appointments. Now this is super interesting, right? Because there's a lot going on here, but all we do is punch in the yellow columns, the rest is formulated. So the first thing I'm doing when I look at a tracker like this is I just want to see like the actual result that we're optimizing for, right? Cost per booked appointment, cost per lead. So immediately what stands out to me on this one is, oh man, like back here, there was like $62 booked appointments and $72 booked appointments. But it's like, oh, we look at that spend and obviously it's not even comparable to those weeks, right? So that's a really good thing to do. Now, what are the metrics that I look for to kind of like understand where things need to go? One is CTR. One is CTR all. Like this is a slightly out of date version of the sheet I use now, but CTR all is really important. So I'm usually looking from the very front, right, all the way to the very back of the funnel. CTR all is going to tell me if people are just clicking on the ad, right? So I know if I have a CTR all problem, I either have an audience problem, I have a headline problem, or I have an image problem, right? That's what's going to kind of give me that insight there. If I have a CTR problem, right, like in this column, that's telling me that my copy isn't converting. What that means is people are hitting my ad, but they're not necessarily resonating with the copy, right, or the angle. When they learn more about what caught their attention, they're kind of like, not maybe the best fit for me. So if that's the case, I'm going to work more on my copy. Once that happens, I'm getting to the funnel and I'm looking at the conversion rates, right? And you can see this is an exact, like, this shows exactly what Jason and I were talking about when we said we just work over time on building a funnel up. So this is a 2-step funnel, but we had like an 8.64% conversion before we took this account. So this top line's before we took the account. And we can see like, kind of like just went up and down around here. This here, where it took a massive dive, is because we switched a Facebook pixel. So if you guys were curious on what the difference between an experienced pixel and a new pixel is, well, there's a great comparison on data on what you can expect. And you can also see the effect of a massive increase in spend. We spent $3,000 more as well with no learning, and look at how much the CPL went up. So that's super interesting to see. But you can see the revisions over time of how, it kind of fluctuates, but then, we're running different variations. And then finally, we start pulling up into these bigger numbers here. And then finally, what I have is these are the most important ones. And this is a booking conversion rate. So that's going to tell me out of the people that opt in, how many people convert, right? So yes, sometimes this may drop. But also if you can get this number rising, it's a balancing game, okay? Unique link clicks to get a call. So this means that I know, this is super interesting metric, and I wouldn't like tie your success on this, but it's a good average to understand, like have an understanding of how your ad account performs. Because I can look here and go, it takes on average 27 clicks for me to get one person to book. So I obviously know that if I'm willing to on average spend $150, like I'm going to take the 150 divided by the 27, and on average, I shouldn't be spending more than, you know, X amount a click, which is probably $5 a click because it says right here. So if I'm spending wildly over $5 a click, then I'm going to probably be pretty concerned and go, you know what, maybe I need to look deeper into this. And then there's a cold conversion rate. So a cold conversion rate is basically telling me what percentage of the people that hit my landing page actually will end up booking a call. And you can see on this one, like over time, was the back end here where we ended up collecting the data. The last of the data we ended up collecting here. But yeah, I mean, 4% to cold traffic is actually really, really good for a booking. So this is kind of how I'm doing my funnel analysis. First, I'm looking at my costs, and then I'm getting way deeper into this data and looking at this. I'm also looking at my frequency, right? Like I can tell you in this smaller niche that this account is in. No wonder why my frequency is like getting close to 3, because it's a tiny niche, right? Like I'm spending $7,000 that week. Of course, look on these 2 weeks here where I spent the most, right? And this one here. The frequency is the highest, right? So that's important for me to look at, because I've got to consider that, hey, look, my entire audience, like the entire net I'm casting out there is being seen 3 times, right? So you need to keep things fresher and just keep that rotating. And as for like a benchmark on your CTRs, I'd probably look for 1%. Some niches you just aren't going to hit 1%, but it's a good benchmark to aim for.
You're entering those numbers manually, right? In the yellow columns?
Yeah. So and I will say the way we figure out funnel conversion rates is we pull hard data on lead cost, like hard leads. So when I'll go to my funnel and be like, man, there was 7 opt-ins, sweet. I'm going to go to Facebook and look at exactly in that date range how many clicks I bought on Facebook, right? And I'm going to then take the number of opt-ins divided by the number of clicks, and that's going to give me a true conversion rate. Do not go and trust your funnels that you get given and the stats they put on them. Like, don't trust that stuff, because it's not really a true representation of your paid ads. So that's what, we said the very first thing, check that data, because you don't want to be making decisions when Go High Levels got 17 emails a month being sent to a lander, and they're killer emails. And now it looks like your ads are doing
your numbers.
Realistically, they're not.
Ideally you would duplicate the funnel for like direct traffic, like your emails and stuff, and keep that separate from your paid funnels.
Yeah. By the way, do you guys use the high-level conversion API or any conversion API at all, or not typically?
Yes, but depends on the account. I mean, Hyros has it built in these days. For most of the biggest accounts we're running, they all have Hyros, and it's kind of integrated through that. But we haven't put too much emphasis on it on some accounts, unless there's an extreme discrepancy on data. That is actually
we're just doing it manually. Like we're just doing it manual anyways.
Something really weird about our niche is like when we run ads for our clients, just to like general public, basically broad targeting, and just using the pixel tracking seems to be tracking almost like 100% accurately. I don't know how, but like it's almost exactly on the point every single time. But for some reason, when we're running ads to car dealerships, the tracking is like completely off. It's nuts. I don't know. I can tell if it's a thing where it's like just because it's a smaller audience, or something's not picking up right, or maybe it's because dealers are way more inclined to say, no, don't track me.
Are you running funnels to B2C as well, or is it lead ads?
Yeah, we're running funnels to B2C.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. Like, without looking super deep into it. But I will just say in general, it seems to be literally a roll of the dice whether or not your tracking is going to be on or off. And it's just the way it's turned into, unfortunately. I mean, and it's not going to get prettier. So I think that's something to be aware of, guys. Like, prepare for this because it's not going to get better, right?
Yeah.
And if it does, sweet, that's amazing. But I wouldn't expect it to get better. Like, actually go and build the systems to be able to at least have some level of tracking. Take that UTM I posted in the chat and go and make sure that's posted in all your ads, right?
Yeah, that's going to help a lot.
And that's going to be a backup source. Even if you don't need it now, put a UTM in there and you're going to have backup data should ever you need it.
And like Luke said, I mean, we do use HighRoast. I know in the beginning we're like, oh, we don't really recommend HighRoast a lot. We don't recommend it a lot because like it depends on what you're spending. You know, like if you're spending like 50, 75, 100K a month, like we're probably going to say like you should set up, or we can set up HighRoast for you, and that's probably going to give us some good data. But if you're spending like probably anything under like 10 or 15,000, like you probably just don't really need HighRoast.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, if you're spending over 40 or over 50, then you probably do need it and you can probably benefit from it. It also depends on like how much stuff you're doing, like how many different offers you have going too. Like some of our accounts, you know, they're not only doing like call book funnels, they have a ton of league magnets. They're also selling like little $27 master classes and stuff like that. So at this point, there's like a lot more going on that needs to be tracked. And also like how many channels are you advertising on too, right? They're also advertising on this point at like TikTok, YouTube, Google search, Bing search, Facebook, Instagram. So you got all these channels, you got all this ad spend, you got all these offers and products. There's a lot of value in having something like HighRoast at that point. But if you're just running like a straight booking calendar funnel and you're spending 10 or 12K a month, then you're just going to have to like get your hands dirty in the data.
Yeah. I want to answer one more question because I know we're going over. But Casper, I did notice your question. You asked about what changes have you seen in targeting with the interest expansion being always on? So yeah, a few months ago, Facebook forced interest expansion on all interest audiences, it seems. Yeah, we did notice a difference. Some of our audiences certainly tanked, like big time, which really was scary, actually, because we were kind of like, like if you're about to tell us that data matching is about to get worse and worse and worse, which means lookalikes are going out the window, and now interest targeting is going out the window, like this is starting to get really concerning. But, you know, honestly, Q4 was just hard in general. Q1's been amazing for all of our clients. So I don't think that, you know, there's anything to worry about. But I will say interest expansion, I actually noticed in most of our accounts, like 3 weeks later, interest expansion was like turned back to off by default again, like 3 weeks later. I don't know why, but like half of our accounts, like they were all forced on, and then we had the ability 3 weeks later to turn it back off again. I will tell you this is really freaking weird, guys. So this is why we look into ad accounts a lot every day. The amount of times Facebook changes damn settings in our campaigns after we've already set them up is ridiculous. Like we have literally gone in and said, don't change this to interest expansion, and turned it off, took a screenshot of it, went back like hours later and it's back on, turned it off, went back the next morning, it's on again, turned it off 2 days later, it's on again. We're like, this is ridiculous. And we're wondering why our accounts are just like diving all of a sudden, right? And then we can go in and find something.
Because our targeting got mixed up.
Yeah, someone, and I know it's not someone on our team that's doing it. Like, you know, I'm 100%. Our team's extremely proficient when it comes to that. So it's really concerning to see that kind of stuff. So guys, like I would pay really close attention to those kind of micro details with these buttons getting flicked on and off, because that's going to make a difference. But yeah, if you can turn it, test it on, test it off if you have the option. If not, you don't have the option. Don't focus your energy on it. Just find more creative ways.
Do you know any reason like what makes it that you're going to have it on and off, or just on? Or it's just like whatever Zach decides?
By default, I would turn it off when you're testing the audience. If the audience performs,
I'm just meaning like for most of my accounts, like I don't have the chance to turn it off.
Oh, I don't think you have any control. They just randomly gave us, like they randomly made it, forced it, and then they randomly unforced it on a bunch of accounts.
It's beta groups.
Yeah.
Right. So Facebook rolls every single thing it does out on like betas. Like that's why like sometimes everyone in England will get like one update and then everything looks completely different on their Facebook and it's completely different on ours because they're testing it.
Mhm.
So there's a chance that some of us like go through a bunch of your ad accounts and see if you have it. And if you have different business managers, go and change your business managers and see if they have it or don't have it as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's smart.
Luke, would it be okay if I asked one really quick question?
Yeah, for sure.
I think this would help. I thought it might help show rates at least, but because I know that's a very common problem with a lot of people. Do you guys notice that? Do you guys notice if having things like stuff after they book a call, like testimonials or like a bunch of stuff through text message, especially like right after the booking page and like information there, have you noticed those kind of things making a significant boost to like show rates and things like that?
Yeah. Like a pre-call guide is super important. Like when they book that call, the only thing you sold them on is booking the call. You didn't sell them to show up. You haven't even spoke with them yet, right? So your job's not done. And a lot of people get lazy and they're like, big thumbs up emoji. Thanks for booking the call. See you in a week. Right? And it's just, and then they get this random Calendly reminder or some text saying, your appointment with Jimmy Bob is showing up in 10 minutes. Make sure you make it. And it's like, no wonder why they're not showing up. So yeah, continue the sale. When it ends, like one thing we've found that works really well is like a step 1, 2, and 3 strategy. So you say like across the banner, do not leave this page. Like your call will be canceled if you do not review this information. And like something like that where it's super obscene. And then it's like step 1, watch the video below, right? Or make it short. Like, I mean, don't like piss these guys off. Don't make it a 13-minute video to watch, but be like, hey, it's 2 minutes. Do that. Yeah, there you go. Jared's got a good example.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, keep them excited. You know, like you got to sell every single step of the way, right? In the ad, you got to sell the click. On the landing page, you got to sell the opt-in or the book an appointment. And then on the thank you page, you got to sell the, you know, why you need to show up. Then on the call, you got to sell the program or offer. You know, so like you really got to sell every single step of the way.
Yeah.
And
but
you got to keep that dopamine high, you know, like after they see the ad and the landing page and they're all excited, you know, like once they opt in, you want to keep that high where all the way to the sales call.
Awesome. You guys are beasts. Thank you so much for joining this call. You've changed the lives of many today. These guys are the absolute best that I know regarding agency ads. So if you guys, once you guys have ads proven and they've been running consistently, getting a good return on investment, they're the guys you guys want to work with to scale them up. So thank you guys so much for joining. The amount of information here is like insane. I don't even know if you guys will fully understand how valuable this is, but if you don't, you will very soon as you start getting into scaling these ads up.
Last thing I want to say, Jason, Luke, how can people reach out to you, or do you just want to drop your Instagram?
Yeah, I can either drop a calendar in the chat if you guys want to copy that, or you can probably reach out to me on Facebook or Jason on Facebook. Like that's the easiest way. Our names are literally on the screen, like right around here. So I would probably just take a note of that or a screenshot and then come find us on Facebook. Like we're super responsive. We'll be friends with everyone that sends us a friend request as long as you don't look like you're going to sell me Forex stuff. And then probably just hit us up in the chat. We'll send you a calendar link as well. That would probably be the easiest way. And that way you get to see all of our cool stories if you check out our timelines and stuff. I'll
drop your guys' profiles in our group chat. Billy, any final words?
No, that's all. I'll let you finish that.
Awesome, guys. Well, once again, Jason, Luke, thank you so much. Guys, drop a 0 in the chat because I firmly believe in the test that they just helped you all out, including myself, a few zeros to our bank account. So please drop a 0 for them. And with that being said, guys, much love. Have a great weekend, and I will talk to you all.
I hope you guys got a lot of value from that video. If you guys like that one, make sure you check out one of these videos that the YouTube algorithm just hand selected for you. Make sure you guys smash that like and subscribe button. Also turn off bell notifications so you get updated of the next fire video just like this one. See you guys in the next one.